I'm trying to blow up Gotham with a nuclear warhead bomb here, and I know the best way to throw off Batman is to bang him out in his house.
Well, she's still like a red blooded female, and she just, she wanted to get something from the billionaire. Why not? Go ahead, get both two birds with one stone, right? Go ahead, girl, you do your thing.
I do think it's funny when like he drops the Batman voice for a second. He's like, Miranda. Here comes trouble. It's me. It's that N to the T to the G. Rolling once again with that BT double B, Big Trouble with Bishop, taking up the whole screen. And you got myself Nicky Good, and we are the Meat Pop Express. And boy, do we have yet another jam-packed episode for you this week. And you know what, Ben? I was watching a little WWE programming, and I saw our big, hairy, sexy Scottishman Drew McIntyre had a little bit of a heel turn. And guess, you know what? We haven't had many like awesome heel turns, come on the up and up lately, where like you saw them coming from, far away. But like when it really hits, it really sinks in, man. And it got us all jacked up as per usual. And it gave us some inspiration. So, Ben, could you please tell us what we're getting into today?
Today, we all remember there is no good guy if you don't have a good villain. As you can see on my shirt, rocking the Batman and Joker, probably one of the greatest heels of all time. So today, as we usually do, we are a pro wrestling podcast, but also we love the pop culture. So we're going to add that, and we're doing the best heel turns in wrestling and pop culture. Brother, mega powers.
Brother.
Yeah, so we are going to go through some of the best heel turns that we remember, our favorites. And Nick, you want to tell them the categories?
Yeah, so here are the categories. So we're going to run it down. So we got best pro wrestling heel turn. Now, that could be the best that's ever occurred, which, there's some pretty obvious ones, but also might be a little bit, what's your favorite heel turn of all time? We have the worst pro wrestling heel turns. Like, did it not just work out? Did it fall flat? Were you like, come on, dude, this makes no sense whatsoever? Then we're going to go with heel turns in a movie, okay? Then a heel turn in a television series, as Vince Russo would say, it's a television show, bro. So heel turn in a television series, and then in all of society, okay? Yeah, we're talking the world. We're talking global here, brother, okay? So we're not going to keep it locally. We're going to make it globally, like in Biodome. But Ben, before we kick it off, could you just explain a little bit, what is a heel turn to people who may not know what the hell is going on right now?
So I feel if you've been living under a rock for the past 30 years, if you don't know what the term heel means, but to explain it to you, heel is a bad guy, someone who does dastardly things. It can be real life, it can be fantasy, it can be professional wrestling, which is a mixture of both. So, but a very good heel turn, in my opinion, is one you don't see coming. Okay, you don't know. Your mind's going one way, but reality's taking you another way. That what makes the best heel turns. That surprise, especially in professional wrestling, when you don't see it coming. That makes an excellent heel turn.
Kind of like this podcast, man. We were cruising on wrestling, and all of a sudden, boom, I get laid off, and here we go. Heel turn.
Now we're the heels.
I'm rolling with the Meat Pop Express. I'm the heels. I can say whatever I want because you know what? Heels can do no wrong. But let's kick it off. As per usual, I give the hot tag to Ben because we want some big boots. We want to start with some big action from the big man because no one is paying a ticket to see the little guy. Right, Ben? Yeah, that's kind of true. So we're going to kick it off with
what is the elephants, not the acrobats.
Woo, what is the best pro wrestling heel turn to you?
So to me, the best pro wrestling heel turn, and there's some obvious ones that a lot of people pick, and I understand maybe one of the greatest. It might be Nick's choice. I'm not going to say it. One of the greatest heel turns, but to me, the best heel turn, especially more modern, is when Seth Rollins turned on the Shield. I got to go with that one. We all thought, I think, leading up to it, and I don't know, I forget the full details, but I think we were leaning towards it was going to be Dean Ambrose. He was the one that was turning. There was contention between Roman, between Ambrose. Rollins, you thought was, he was called himself the architect, and he was the one that put it all together, and he was acting like the captain, giving the rah-rah speeches. Hey, we got to stay together. And then just one fateful night, you saw him with the chair, Triple H comes out, smacks Roman over that giant Samoan back. You never forget that look Ambrose had. Like, what the hell? Yep, exactly. Yeah, just perfect. No one saw it coming. To me, that is my favorite heel turn of all.
Because there's always a plan B. There's always a plan B. And you know what? Like Rollins was the guy that kind of like everyone would always talk about. Roman's the guy, which he is now.
Mm-hmm.
But oh, Gene is the talker. He's the enigma. He's the weirdo, right? He's really interesting. And Rollins was always getting a little bit of the back burner with the Shield. If that's kind of the vibe I got.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it made sense that he's the one that actually did it. But man, holy shit. I was taken aback by it because the Shield was just, that was a faction you didn't want to see break up. And also, they had some more running.
Oh, they definitely.
You know, they could have just kept going with the Shield for at least another year, and no one would have said boo.
But you know what, though? It's sometimes it's better that way that they break up at a high, right? So we don't remember any bad. And you can always say, like, oh, they could have been more, they could have been more. At least we're saying that instead of, oh, they're still around, or that, something like that. So no, I think it's the perfect time. Made it happen, and obviously all three guys now are at the top of their game.
Yep. So tag, I'm in right now. So for me, I'm going to kick it back a little bit. You know that Nikki the Good, I love my nostalgia. And when little Nikki the Good was watching that Boiler Room match, and that little fucking fat bastard, Paul Bearer, man, I'm pretty sure that I got the right match here. But like Paul Bearer turning on the Undertaker. Undertaker gets in the ring. He does the thing. He's like this. He's like, and then he's like, give it to me. Give it to me. And Paul's, oh, no. If you're watching on YouTube right now, you can see what I'm doing. I'm like, no. And I just remember being a little kid being like, give him the fucking urn. Give him the urn. It's over. It's over. Just give him the fucking urn. And he didn't give it to him. Next thing you know, Mankind, that disheveled bastard, comes up from behind and he freaking takes him. And Paul Bearer links up with Mankind after all the history they had. I was devastated as a kid because I was a Taker kid. I was a creature of the night and I was fucking pissed off, man. And that's why I don't usually get lippy. I don't usually drop as many F-bombs on this show. But I just remember being so angry. Now, listen, we know you called it out before. We know Hogan's heel turn is probably the greatest of all time. All those things. But when you're talking about something that I did not see coming as a kid, I didn't see that coming, man. He got out of the Boiler Room. They crawled. They're in the middle of the ring. All you got to do is hand him the urn.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you didn't.
Yeah.
And you didn't. You smashed him over the head. And Mankind, I was devastated as a kid. And to me, it was just the shock factor and just the absolute letdown as a youngster. It sucked for me, man. Paul Bearer turning on the Undertaker, breaking up one of the best, like, 1-2 punches, manager and talent, match made in heaven history, right? So that's mine.
Yeah, no, I mean, also, I think that you were so invested just because of the story behind the Undertaker and the story with Paul Bearer, which made Paul Bearer eventually just to be the perfect villain.
Yeah, man.
Somehow the Undertaker had to lose, right? And he's obviously
right
dead man.
And Undertaker's record against Mankind is like 100,000 and like maybe one.
Exactly.
Like I don't.
So he needed to lose to complete that hero's journey. That's what we'll bring up on the podcast when it comes to heel turn. What we're seeing right now with the guy like with Cody, he's got the perfect heel. He's got Roman down the road.
Right. Yep.
Overcoming it.
You need someone to dance with. And speaking of a dance, you're going to kick it back to me here because you know the way we do things. We do a little bit of snake action where we go back and forth. So I'm going to kick it back to me. The worst pro wrestling heel turn of all time. And this one I just thought sucked. I mean, it's not even a good heel turn. It's no one's going to remember it. But I just thought it was the absolute worst execution of a heel turn ever because there was no actual follow through with it. And I'm going with Mojo Rawley turning to the guy that turns into the guy that looks into the mirror and just says, figure it out. And all of a sudden he had lightning bolts on his face. And he's just staring into a mirror, screaming. To me, that was one of the worst heel turns, like just the absolute waste of time for anyone's brain. If you had a functioning brain, you had brain waves going to your head, and you watched any of that, that's the worst heel turn ever. Mm-hmm. And there are some terrible ones out there. Like, and I'm not even going to, the fact that was an actual storyline, and then we didn't get any payoff. We literally just got vignettes of him staring into the camera with blue vein lightning bolts coming down his face. I think that's the worst execution of any type of heel turn ever attempted ever.
Honestly, Nick, it's hard for me to put it at worst because when I think worst heel turn, I think of like what had a lot of impact in not a good way. Unfortunately, that just didn't have an impact either either way.
It
It was
sucked.
kind of
It
like
sucked.
nothing.
It was fucking
I
awful.
forgot about it.
I hate it.
I didn't even know what you're talking about for a second. Like,
Yeah, man, it's
oh,
okay because that's how fucking bad it was. That's
how
how
bad.
that's how bad it was.
Yeah.
It's so not memorable, but I remember it because it was just so bad.
Oh God, yeah. That's no, that's a that can be up there. That is definitely up there. All right, going back to me, I'm going with one that had a little more impact, but it was such a bad idea. It was such a bad idea. And we know the big one here. I'm not going with this one when Austin went with Mr. McMahon at WrestleMania.
Okay,
Not
all
that
right.
one though. What even got me more mad is when Austin turned on Team WWF.
Oh
I
yeah,
was just
that
like, why? And then
gross.
Angle was part of it too. So I'm going to add those two together: Austin and Angle turning on Team WWF to go to Team Alliance and the Invasion Angle. I'm just like, so now it's just WWF guys versus WWF guys. And me as a kid, I didn't know all the contract BS. I didn't get into all that. So I was like, oh man, when's Goldberg showing up? When's Hogan? When's Nash? When are we going to see these guys? The two top guys in the WCW team were Booker T and DDP, which they're great in their own right, but we weren't getting Flair, we weren't getting Nash, Hogan, Goldberg yet. We didn't get Sting. It's like that's the guys I wanted to see, and I wish they could have at least, if that wasn't going to happen, at least built up guys to be on Team WCW, not just like, hey, here's our guys versus basically our guys.
And Austin's just a guy you just can't do it with. It just
No,
doesn't work.
exactly.
And granted, and you know what the thing is, like you made him a heel, and the best part he was as a heel is when he did the comedy stuff with Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
Because you just can't make him into someone that people hate. It's impossible. It is absolutely impossible for you to hate Stone Cold Steve Austin on TV. I don't give a shit if he's really playing the character hard. You just can't do it.
No.
He literally saved, like, he literally like took WWF and made it into the Attitude Era. He was the fixture. He was a perfect character. Everyone related to him. It just didn't work. And in that same vein, like you could look at like what we talk about best ones, like obviously, like if you want to go down the list before we move into the pop culture section, but like The Rock turning, becoming the corporate champion, obviously that's going to be one at the top of the list. I mean, Hogan. There's so many great heel turns that occur. Stephanie
Yep.
turning on her own father.
Well, her father turning on her, and it was me all along.
Oh, and yeah, when they threw her on a cross and tried to sacrifice her in an unholy union with the Undertaker as we crucified her on national television. Yep, that was great. But listen, I love a good heel turn. Oh, and obviously we didn't mention, the obvious one is Shawn Michaels turning on Marty Jannetty. We're not a bunch of idiots here that we didn't mention it. We're just trying to make the damn show interesting. It's not interesting if we just do the obvious ones, you dumb marks. So if you are in the comment section, you pop off, just let you know, I know that you were popping off for no reason. And if you say something, it's because you didn't get to this point in the episode in which is disrespectful. Let's keep it going. We're going to go with heel turns in a movie. And we're going to go to you, Ben. Your tag, you're in. Big
All right.
Here we go.
So the first one that came to mind, and this might be a bit childish, but the very first one that came to mind, I'm sure Nick's seen this movie. I'm a big fan of this franchise. And probably my favorite franchise, one of my favorite franchises of all time. I would give it top 5, regardless. This heel turn I did not see coming. Lotso in Toy Story 3 turning on Woody and Buzz. I had no idea, and I should have, because it was the exact same storyline as season 3 of The Walking Dead with the governor, and I didn't realize that for a while. But this one, I didn't see it coming. I didn't see Lotso being the bad guy in that movie.
You got to have villains, even if it's in like anime. Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and maybe they just like, they're making you feel like a kid because of the show you're watching. So you're like, they're not going to become that dastardly. They're not going to really turn on the two fixtures of the franchise here.
Yep.
But it happens. And guess what? It was impactful. And old Big Trouble, 6'12", 15% of a metric ton, probably sitting there in an uncomfortable seat in the movie theater, being like, the hell, man? It's Woody. It's Buzz. What are we doing?
I was pissed. I went to the theater with a bunch of my friends. I remember I was in college at the time, and they all went to see Get Him to the Greek, and I'm like, no, I'm going to see Story 3. And I was alone in that theater, just like, what? Like out of my seat when he turned on that fuzzy pink bear.
Could you
Oh
imagine
boy.
going to see that movie as a kid and there's a legitimate 7-footer in there just
Guys,
freaking
the
out?
old tub of popcorn, just stuffing it in my face, edge of my
What
seat,
the
and he
hell
turns
is
on the
going
TV.
on?
Come on. Yeah, I was
Oh man.
pissed. Pissed. My cowboy hat on.
All right. So we're gonna kick it back to me here. Um, I'm going with heel turn in a movie. I didn't see this coming either because, and I'm gonna lay out why. I'm going with Miranda from The Dark Knight Rises.
Oh,
Have you seen it?
yes.
You saw it, right?
Yes.
So at the end of the movie, when Batman is taking it to Bane and he's trying to kick his ass, she comes and she like gives him she stabs him in his side, and she's like, "I'm the daughter of Ra's al Ghul."
Yeah.
Now listen, I think it's great because first of all, I didn't see it coming, but also she's so fucking ruthless. She was banging him in his house, like not even like 5 scenes prior to that.
Yeah.
So she's like, I'm not just going to be Ra's al Ghul's daughter here. I'm not going to just make you think that I was Bane or that I was or wasn't Bane. And I'm not going to tell you that I was the child that jumped out of the big hole in the ground. But I'm going to bang you out in your mansion when you got no money. And then I'm going to use that, in order to get one up, like to throw you off completely. I'm trying to blow up Gotham with a nuclear warhead bomb here. And I know the best way to throw off Batman is to bang him out in his house.
Tom Hardy did a few times with Bane. It was like a totally different accent.
What's your best Bane? Let me hear your best Bane.
Oh God, I haven't done. I was Bane one Halloween. I had the mask on. What was the best line he said? Oh, this is going to be very painful for you.
I'll do because I got a good Bane because I'm a pretty good impressionist. Because theatricality and deception.
That
the darkness was your ally.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah, I know. I'm really good at impressions. I'm extremely talented in many different facets of life, but impressions is something that I can do. He goes, "You were wait, what is it? What is it?
It's like, yeah.
You were born in the what? You were molded by the dark.
Yeah.
I was born in it, or is it the reverse?
I totally forget. But the last line of that, when he says it, it's like a Spanish accent.
Theatricality and deception.
Just comes up with it's totally different. It's like they had to redo the line. Like it just different room, just like this. Like there's like you just re-say it.
I like when he's in the plane. He's like, "Oh, the fire rises."
Yeah. He was great as it, but he definitely lost the accent a few times.
They're expecting to find one of us, brother. When he thinks he's
like Scottish, and then he's English, and then he's Spanish, and then he's he had
nobody cared about me till I put on the mask.
Right.
Wow. Right. Woo! Okay, so I got Miranda, the chick banging out Bruce Wayne. In Dark Knight Rises. Caught me off guard. In the movie, it kind of did because there's so much shit going on in that movie towards the end of it. Like, you didn't that, by the way, that movie got spoiled for me on Facebook.
Dark Knight Rises?
Yeah, someone just posted on Facebook. I know who the kid is. I'm not going to call him out. He basically just put on Facebook. He's like, yeah, Batman dies, but he kind of doesn't die, and by flying a nuclear warhead over Gotham, and it explodes. But that's about it. And I just remember just being like, I just wanted to go to his fucking house and just like throw him in the sharpshooter and just like never let it go.
Still should.
The next category we're going to have for best heel turns is best heel turns in a TV series. And I think we're kicking it to me, right? So I'm going with, and this one I just cannot ignore. It's a big one. It is to me, it's the greatest heel turn I've just like ever seen over the course of legitimately, it was like 8 seasons long. But it's Walter White turning into Heisenberg on Breaking Bad. To me, that entire thing, like, it was a heel turn that happened so gradually and so perfect. And he was able to go from Walter to Heisenberg at the drop of a dime. But it was the level of viciousness that you actually stopped sympathizing with this guy at some point because he was such a terrible human being. And to me, it's like, typically you start rooting for the anti-hero a little bit, right? You find it hard to kind of let go of like, oh, like Tony Soprano, right? Like Tony is a ruthless killer, but he's a family man, and it was difficult for the audience to look at him and be like, I don't care about Tony. I don't care if he gets whacked, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not with Walter. I was like, this dude has gotta die, man. This dude is bad news. What he did to Jesse, just murdering people, didn't show up to his kid's birth, right? Like just a bad dude. Let the chick die in front of him, like, just choking on her own vomit. Like, and shout out Bryan Cranston. I mean, one of the greatest performances of all times, but heel turn, that entire series is just literally one big ass heel turn. And I think it's the greatest of all time in TV history.
So I'm here nodding like an idiot. I've never watched Breaking Bad. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know anything you just said. I'm happy you were that passionate about it.
Did you intend on watching it ever?
I watched like the first like 5 episodes of the first.
You got to get through season
Everyone
1.
says that. Everyone says the same.
Oh man,
got to get through season 1, brother.
Oh well, I got a confession that I never saw Toy Story 3.
Oh, see, this is the chemistry you want.
I never saw Toy Story 3.
We're not even watching these movies that we're talking about. It's okay though. It's okay. I was honest. Nick wasn't.
Yeah, I wasn't. That was my heel turn. I was healing it up for Woody and Buzz and the other guy. I don't even know I don't remember what his fucking name is, to be honest. If you quiz me right now, couldn't remember it. I have to go back and listen to the tape.
You got a reason to watch kids. I'm just a big weirdo in the movie theater. What?
Okay, here we go. TV series Breaking Bad.
All right.
For me, I'm gonna kick it back to Ben. Ben, if I don't know what you're talking about, I'm just gonna raise my hand.
So you might not. It's a little niche, but fans of this show. Well, wrestling fans should know this show because this is where we got the Miz from. So we got the Miz from the real world, the challenge. The challenge. I remember this distinctly on top of the mountain. The challenge Rivals 3.
I know it.
Johnny Bananas takes the money and runs, and that
from Paula, right? This weird Paula
from Sarah.
This is from Paula. From Sarah. Okay.
Sarah. Yeah. So this was a weird because he kind of already was a heel. But it's like him and Sarah were rivals in prior seasons. I didn't watch every challenge religiously. I just remember this one because obviously Johnny Bananas is electric in his role as a heel on these shows. He kind of I feel like he took over almost like for the Miz, like how the Miz was.
I mean, he's the greatest challenge competitor ever.
Absolutely. He plays the game, walks the walk, talks the talk. But you kind of almost thought like, hey, finally they're gonna bury the hatchet. There's no way Bananas is going to say, I'm taking the money. And he did. And you thought there was a glimmer of hope. You're like, he's going to see the light. He's going to be the good guy. No, Johnny Bananas goes back to the dark side and just says, if I didn't do it, if I didn't say it, I thought you might have said it. So you know what? I think he made the right choice. And we're seeing it through, Sarah comes out of this like being the baby face. But remember when Chris Van Vliet said it, if you see things through Triple H's eyes, was he really the bad guy?
Right, exactly.
Was Johnny the bad guy or was he just playing the game? That's what I think.
The level that he plays that game, I don't think there's enough appreciation for how great of a character he is just in pop culture lore. Mm-hmm. Like for someone to dedicate themselves so much to that show and that craft and being able to literally just put the show on his back for years where they could just put him into anything and it's like, okay, Bananas is here, we're gonna, and he performs every single time, man. You think they want to get rid of him, and right away, but it just doesn't happen. He's just Bananas. He's the king of the challenge.
That show has really given us a lot of good heels through history.
It has.
Like I'm thinking, good anti-heroes too, like CTs, like the cool anti-hero, like
Wes a little bit.
Wes, of course.
He's interesting,
Wes. I remember more of the older ones. I remember like the Miz and Coral would always be their allies or they wouldn't. And it just went back.
Well, yeah, because Coral was like, you're just a dumb idiot from Ohio. Like you've never even seen, anybody that's not, that doesn't look like you. Like I remembered that. Like, Coral, Coral and Mike is probably one of the first feuds I remember.
Yeah.
I like
They were together.
in
It was
reality
work, and
TV. Yeah,
it was so you couldn't take your eyes off the storyline they had going.
right. And the fact, but I mean, listen, the Miz is on fire, by the way. If we want to just get into a little wrestling right now, like it just goes to show, man, great. I want to talk about heels. I mean, will we ever be able to appreciate him truly for how great he is?
We won't. We won't because I think he'll always be known as the reality star, and people just think like, oh, because you don't do this, that, and the other, and you don't worship pro wrestling in other countries, you're not a real pro wrestler. But he can
to me
around the majority, like 95, 90, 99% of wrestlers out there.
I would like, and we've said before, he's a top 5 promo in the business when given the mic. Like he just does not screw up. You could even see him when he's against LA Knight. Like LA Knight, as good as he is, he fumbles a little bit from time to time. Miz don't fumble.
No,
he don't. Like he just does not fumble. And I would say, like, the way Austin always talks about like dialing yourself up to 11 and that's the best version of you. Well, when are people going to start realizing about the Miz, that the Miz was a reality TV star? And guess what? His character is literally a reality TV star that has hit some Hollywood, seen some success. And now he's got like one of the hottest wives ever of all time. Married man here, but I'm just saying.
Objectively.
It's objectively. If my wife's looked at Marie, she was agree. But I don't think we'll ever appreciate his heel work. And I don't think he'll never get that full appreciation, but I guess that's part of his character. I do feel bad for him. I mean, he's baller ass rich. He's never had to worry about anything. He's a made man. He is Teflon. He's a Hall of Famer. Undeniable. But it's just interesting how, like, for some reason, people just won't always give him his roses.
They won't. And I don't think we will until he's gone and realize how great he has been in his role for almost 20 years now. I mean, it's the epitome of it, just listening to that Talking Smack promo we cut on
with Daniel Bryan.
Daniel Bryan at the time. We cut on him, and you could tell. I mean, I know we always do like it's a work or a shoot, and like
that was the
truth. Everything he said was true. And he was just like, no one gives a shit about me, but I've been here every single day. I never have been hurt. I don't do wrestle dumb ways. I still make people care, this, that. And, the Miz kind of, I mean, I'm Jay.
Not even that.
Promo, but like,
not even that though. It's like everything he said about Bryan ended up being true. Like even Daniel Bryan, who I love, like he's the man. Like I'm not saying that he's the man. He could cut a promo. He's one of the best heels too. When he's a heel, he's a prick, dude. But I'll say this about Daniel Bryan is that like Miz was like, yo, like, he does get hurt. He's gotten hurt. He puts himself in harm's way. But that's also what he had to do.
Yeah.
But guess what? The Miz didn't have to do it. The Miz learned. He's like, all these people hate me for no other reason than of who I just am. So he leaned into it, and then he became one of the best promos in the business. He became one of WWE's core guys to go to for literally anything. He has said no to nothing in his career. He is the absolute man. He's one of the greatest to ever do it. And it just, I guess it doesn't suck that he doesn't get his roses, because I guess that's the chip he needs on his shoulder constantly, And you know what? You know what I love about him? Listen, I know I'm going to go on a little ramble, but I'm a big Miz guy. Is that even when like LA Knight fumbled some of those words there, he didn't tear him down.
No.
Like he could call that out, but he didn't, because he knows. He
gets it. He's very smart, and also he understands what promos are. If somebody fumbles a little bit in a promo, I mean, they're just speaking normally. And that's also low-hanging fruit type stuff. It's like, oh, I'm gonna make fun of the way you talk because you maybe stuttered or you said the wrong thing. That's just lame.
That's personally the last thing I'd want as a performer, because then I'm just be paranoid that I'm going to stumble. Like instead of just like saying, or instead of just like not connecting with the audience.
It's a lame thing to say to try to get over on somebody.
All right, we're going into the last category for best heel turns. This one's in society in general, and I'm really excited to see what Ben has to say here, because I have no idea where any of us are going to go.
So
I know where I'm going. But I think, you're going first, right?
It's me first. I'm probably in the greatest heel turn of all time. If this happened, now I don't know, because I'm not a religious guy at all. I'm not very biblical. However, this wouldn't be the greatest heel turn in society if we didn't talk about the greatest heel turn of all time. This guy traded in the most prolific human being on the planet of all time in history, for 30 pieces of silver. I'm going with Judas turning on Jesus Christ in whatever year it might have been for 30 pieces of silver. He wanted to be the richest man in Jerusalem. And so he took the money and he gave up Jesus. And Jesus looked him right in the eyes and said, I know it was you. You son of a bitch. I know it was you.
And then Judas looked right at Jesus, and I am a Catholic, dude. I'm a Division I altar server. My whole family was in church back in the day, but I went to Catholic school my whole life. But I'll say to you, Judas was the $1 million man of back in the day. That's what he's like. Everybody, he's like, hey Jesus, everybody's got a price.
Everybody's got a price,
and that's what happened, man.
Yeah,
that's what happened. I mean, and then also then Judas comes out with the great song. Shout out Jericho.
Shout out Jericho.
Yep. So Judas came back all of these years and gave us one of the best theme songs that we've heard in the modern era. But yeah, no, I got to agree there. I mean, it's probably the greatest heel turn of all time. Literally set up an entire religion. You really can't debate that.
Really can't.
I mean, and the fact that Ben's admittedly not a religious person and he's saying this is it, you got to be taking it seriously. There,
casual paying attention.
Yeah, the casuals are paying attention, and then you got the diehards like myself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm rocking communion. I'm going to church. I went to church every Saturday and Sundays too. Back in the day with my family. So yeah, Judas is the best heel turn in the history of society. The greatest heel. Probably,
as he said, start a religion.
So my societal heel turn is. It's crazy that we've had the conversation we've had that you brought up Johnny Bananas, that I brought up The Miz, because my heel turn is on MTV.
Okay.
Because MTV, I don't remember a bigger, like just stalwart in growing up than music television. MTV was so awesome in giving us actual music, the videos, the characters, the series. It was ingrained into society. TRL launching the boy bands, Britney, Christina. That's not MTV, but I'm hanging up. Britney, Christina. Everybody, okay? And then they heel turned on us and they just turn out, other than the challenge and ridiculousness. The most dog shit programming in the history of Earth. MTV used to be so good. And I don't know what the hell is going on over there, but it's not good, man.
No.
It's not good. Like, where's the music? And I see music and I understand times have changed and I understand things are different and the way people consume music videos is different, but they don't even try, brother. Like, I'll go online, I'll look up a show and I'll be like, this show had a music video and there's just no one putting it in front of my face. I don't see anything. Where has MTV gone? What made them say, we're going to do everything else but music, and we're not even going to do something even remotely close to music. We're going to give you Teen Mom. They gave us Teen Mom. Music television gave us Teen Mom. It makes no sense. It's the biggest heel turn in the history of society, and I think it's the reason why Gen Z are just a bunch of idiots.
Well, what a promo. That's up for promo on a podcast of the year for old Nikki here. So, no, I agree. I mean, you said everything. I don't even need to add to it, but MTV was great. It used to be great, and they just got lazy. Absolute, just lazy. Every now and then on Twitter, it goes a little viral of the MTV schedule. It's not up there every day, but it's what is it, 16 hours of ridiculousness now throughout the day?
I mean, dude, and I'm not, Ridiculousness is one of the best shows. Shout out Roger, it's awesome. But they literally just ran it all day. They didn't even they weren't even trying to hide the fact that they weren't trying. They were like, we're gonna run Ridiculous 7 days a week and you're just gonna deal with it. MTV Music Television. There you go.
Yes. I don't get it. No, it sucks. Once a great station. Obviously, I remember coming home watching TRL all the time. I think times have changed, but I really think it still could draw a number. But hey, what do I know?
I would love to be introduced to new music through music videos. Maybe I'm old, maybe I'm dated, maybe I just am not with the times. But for me, the anticipation of like a music video can still be something that's pretty big. It's just like the trailer of a movie.
Absolutely.
Like, hey, like look at like, obviously there's a big tour coming up and everything like that, whatever. And like with Green Day, Rancid,
Yep.
and all of them, they're releasing new music. Like,
I wish we had some more music videos. I know those guys are all aging, but I mean, man, we remember like the iconic music videos. Like obviously, like Real Slim Shady. You know,
well, if you go back, like Tonight versus Alanis Morissette's
yeah,
Ironic, like the countdown, the New
yeah.
Year's Eve countdown, they went from 100 to 1. And it was like so anticipated. What's going to be the number one song of the year? Is it going to be Jamiroquai? Is it going to be one of the, or where was your favorite
Yeah.
artist? Like I used to care. I remember, I think one year, I think Green Days, I think like when I come around was like 14. I was like, what the hell, 14? Come on, at least top five,
Yeah.
you know? I don't know.
Not a Green Day fan.
I'm not a New
Oh,
Day Green Day fan. I think old stuff Green Day is great. I think right now that I don't like them at all. I just
yeah,
not my vibe. I did just like what the context of what they're talking about. Like I just like I don't need this.
yeah. Hmm.
This is why are we talk everything is political.
Everything.
I'm like I don't. That's not why I listen to music, man. Like there's so many other topics to talk about. There's enough being thrown in our face. I don't need it. But you throw Dookie in front of me, and they're doing that live. They're one of the best live bands there is.
I
So
never saw them live. So I'll take your word for it.
they're great live. They sound exactly like the track. This is what I'll say.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to see them City Field next year.
Well, I'm actually going to see Creed next year. I already got my tickets.
Well, I would love this. You seeing Creed is probably the least surprising thing I've ever heard.
I want everyone to know this, that I was a Creed guy before being a Creed guy was cool.
I don't doubt that.
Now,
I think you're the
I was
ultimate Creed
Cuban
guy.
Clay. I was weathered. I was listening to that in the late '90s. So all these like now all of a sudden it's getting a little resurgence, like how Africa did a few years ago. Like,
Right.
oh, I just found Africa. Now Africa's the cool song. Nickelback, Creed's now becoming that this year, where now all of a sudden everyone likes Creed again. Now I love it for the boys. I want them to get paid, fill those pockets. But I'm going to be a little hipster gatekeeper Creed fan. That's stop with this. Like I've been a Creed fan forever. I've been a Creed fan forever. Me.
What just happened?
I don't know. I don't know what just happened. Well, wow. Wow.
There was just an effect on as soon as he said I'm gonna be a Creed fan forever.
I just got fireworks. If you guys are listening,
Ben literally had a firework effect go off in Zoom. If I could plug that in, I'll plug that in. So you guys can see it. But that's our list for the best heel turns we've seen. We hope you enjoyed this conversation we had. If you have a best heel turn or a worst heel turn or any type of heel turn within the categories in which we listed, please drop it below in the comments. If anything, give us a like, give us a listen, download, subscribe, all that stuff. But Ben, you have anything else to say to these marks?
Nothing else, but keep it positive, keep it trucking, and keep the shades on because the sun never sets on a cool guy.
Later, marks.